to the Media Dialogue right here with yours truly, Sam Orokochinelu. I have a lot on the show today. We will be having loads of conversations, as we always do, kick-starting the show in this hour. Presidential candidate of African Action Congress, Mr. Sowore. We'll be speaking with him, having a chat here and there. He'll be basically saying a thing or two about his race and how he intends to save Nigeria from what they found themselves in. In the following hour, there's quite a conversation. What we have become used to in our political scene. Now, if you hear the name Sowore, you're thinking a lot of things. There's the human rights activist side, there's the founder of Sahara Reporters, and of course, there is the presidential candidate for AAC. There are so many sides to the man, but however you want to describe him, you definitely say he's someone who is unapologetically outspoken. We have Mr. Sowore with us here this morning. Good morning, Mr. Sowore. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for bringing me, and good morning to Port Harcourt and the people of River State and whomever may be listening to us this morning.
Okay. So, many times when your name comes up, it comes with the word controversial. Yes. A lot of people say that. For some, it might be bold. Others might be confident, others might be arrogant, but for many, it's controversial. Yeah. How do you react to people calling you a controversial person? First of all, do you believe you're controversial?
Well, I think people are entitled to define me the way they want, but I understand why they say so. I've been around for 30 years, engaging in very serious political activism, and I have mostly done things that people don't expect I would do. Okay. For example, I have a degree in geography and planning, left Nigeria to go and live in the US, obtained another degree, master's degree in public administration, and people expected I would go and work. But I didn't work the way they expected me to work. I went and started a media company, and nobody expected someone who has never been to journalism school to start a media company that became very, very competitive globally. So, and if you look at the kind of stories that I broke, the fact that beyond just being a reporter, I also did a lot of activism. I led protests while I was in the US that went viral. So people sued me, I got arrested, I got beaten up when I was in university. I was physically attacked, I was injected with poison, and it became a national story at that time. So you can understand that if you're in the University of Lagos, and where I was a student union president, and you went through all of that, you say, that's controversy. If you were there when I was expelled, you say that's controversy. If you were a policeman who arrested me, you say that's controversy, because all of these things are controversial.
Okay. Now, we'll be talking about you for quite a bit before we talk about your presidential run, the race to become the #1 man in the country. Now, speaking about Sahara Reporters, your media company has made headlines for the wrong reasons, and it's quite a culture. Now, I don't know if it's the same one, but I remember, I'm not quite certain how you started, but I think you guys started with sending newsletters. Am I correct?
No, I want to correct the impression you've created there, that's for the wrong reasons.
Yes, you've been making headlines for, okay, let me...
Well, you say for the wrong reasons, I would have preferred you to say what is wrong in what we did. Yes.
Okay, well, the reasons why your company makes headlines, yes, it's the kind that you don't want to find yourself in, considering the position. Now, if you are a media company, which you are, you are saddled with the responsibility of being a mirror to society. So you're reflective. You're basically reporting what is going on.
Exactly.
But the fact that Sahara Reporters have somehow found itself in very sensitive cases, was that the plan? Or is it that you have a thing for just being the odd one out?
No, Sahara Reporters went into the business of investigative journalism. It was set up to expose corruption. And that's exactly what we did. And then we started breaking stories. And the local media couldn't break some of those stories. Some of them didn't believe it because they couldn't even think it was possible for us to find out some of the things we were reporting. Like being able to find out that a minister bought BMW and inflated the price and that led to her being sacked, or that the president of the country was sick in a hospital and we were able to find out that he was dead, brain dead, even though they claimed that he was recovering, or to report, I think it was about 2 years ago, that a governor that just won an election had just collapsed and died. And it has never happened before in history that somebody who won an election collapsed and died. And the local media there couldn't find out if it is true or not, so it took them hours. So I can give you several of these stories that we broke, corruption stories, judges collecting bribes, at the point we presented audio of conversations between top politicians as to how they were bribing people. So if that's what you said is for the wrong reason, I would disagree with you.
Well, I'm not going to go into your sources, obviously. That's not a conversation we should have. But still speaking about the controversy that surrounds you.
Yes.
Now, you have been someone who endorsed and actually promoted marijuana. You said that you felt it was going to boost the economy in some way. I saw that video.
That's correct.
And that's a very sensitive issue.
It is sensitive because people don't open their minds globally to practices that are, helping countries to make it. What I said, and I would defend anyway, that Nigeria is burning every year 1.5 trillion naira worth of marijuana. That's the official rate of what we are destroying. And that there's a market out there for us to sell rather than destroy. What is our budget? The budget presented yesterday is 8.8 trillion naira budget. If we can get 1.1 trillion naira, 1.5 trillion naira of that from selling a product that's readily available to you instead of burning it, and it's acceptable and legal in those countries that are willing to buy it, export it.
Oh, Mr. Sowore.
So, but people who have inclinations that don't understand the medicinal value of marijuana, for example, would say so. But today that marijuana is used in curing epilepsy, is used in treating anxiety, cancer. In fact, the cannabis oil that is sold in this country as we speak, to buy just one bottle is 35,000 naira.
Okay.
So it's a huge market out there. It's legalized in Canada, in about 10 states in the US. It's legalized in South Africa. Ghana is going to be exporting. So my recommendation is for export of marijuana instead of burning.
Now, I totally understand there's the medicinal value, and I've studied about it. But you see, there are questions about regulation. I've had doctors sit where you are sitting, say things like the abuse of the substance, and we see what it's doing to young people around Nigeria and the world. They said, the way the doctor described it, he said, it's like it erodes the top layer of your brain. That's what it does for people who abuse it.
I don't know.
And continued exposure. No, hold on. I'm telling you what they said. I'm not a doctor. Continued exposure to it gets to a point of no return. That's why you see some people go mental. So if now that it's illegal in Nigeria, you have young people abusing marijuana, what do you think would happen when it becomes legal?
I have not said that we should legalize marijuana, so get me correctly. I said we should provide regulations that allow us to export instead of destroying it.
If it is illegal in Nigeria, we can't export it.
Why not? Why not? It's up to you to decide what you do to it, so you understand. But let me tell you this. The part of marijuana that you claim erodes the brain is the THC, which is 20% of marijuana. And the marijuana tree itself, which is known as the hemp tree, has other uses. In fact, they use them in making clothes that are stronger than cotton. There's a t-shirt that's made from hemp. You can't believe that it lasts longer than the one you buy that are made of cotton. A lot of people don't understand this, and we just need to open our minds to understand that a doctor who is sitting here cannot be smarter than a doctor in Canada. The whole of Canada, the whole of the country, Canada, just legalized marijuana. 3 days after marijuana was legalized, they ran out of supplies. So if I'm a country president of Nigeria, I want to be in that market, because one day your Coca-Cola that you buy and drink will be infused with marijuana, because Coca-Cola just signed a deal for $4 billion with Aurora, the biggest marijuana producing company in the world. Is based in Canada. That they should study how they can infuse marijuana into every bottle of Coca-Cola. Your next cake will contain marijuana. Go and do the research. And one day, Nigeria will be priced out of it. Do you know what they're going to do? They're going to tell you that your marijuana is not fit for international consumption, but they will be forcing you through the World Trade Organization to import their own marijuana to treat your ailments here. So if people don't open their minds that way, you know, I'm very clairvoyant, and I'm not saying that to brag, to understand that there's a market out there that if we lose out of it, we will be the ones where, this is the place where everybody wants to be selling their marijuana, including China, very soon, because it's the next goal. There's no question about it. You go and find out about the stocks in the international market the moment Coca-Cola signed that deal. You'll be shocked.
All right, let's go away from marijuana to Pact. Now, you were with Pact at some point, and after a few seconds, we saw that you weren't there, Moghalu wasn't there, and everybody claimed, oh no, we're never part of it. You know, for some reason, Fela Durotue became the consensus candidate, and the big players we saw push this drive were no longer pushing it. And so, you know, we saw a lot of reasons as expected. The news will report a lot of things. But I'm glad you're here in person.
Yes.
What happened with Pact?
I was invited to Pact once. Yes. And I went there the first day, discovered that there wasn't the kind of association I want to be part of or coalition I wanted to be part of. I saw through all the manipulation and scheming that was going on there and left and never went back to Pact. So when people talk about Pact, you should separate my own participation, which was just a one-day attendance of the opening meeting, and what eventually happened. It was Moghalu and the rest of them that went through to the end. They even signed a pact, a legal pact, to say whomever wins will become the candidate of Pact. I wasn't part of that.
How come you didn't respond to all of this before the emergence of Fela?
I did. You can Google it. I did. When I pulled out of Pact, I issued a statement immediately.
And at that time, Fela was not the consensus.
No, at all. In my position, do your research. My position was that before, what needed to happen at Pact was that we should all go first to become candidates of our individual parties or whichever parties. So when we become candidates, we can come back and choose who will represent all of us. We can coalesce. But they said no. They wanted all the aspirants, 18 of us, to choose the candidate. I said, most of these aspirants I've never seen before, and I know a lot of them are not going to become candidates. Fela's party, which was ANN, had 3 aspirants in Pact. And I said that would be unfair to vote for, you know, to have all these other candidates. At that point,
primaries first.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, at the point they had Pact, I had not registered, we had not registered our party, the AAC, at that point. So Pact wasn't something you can read what, I think it was Tokwe Fashua wrote exactly what transpired at Pact. He said Sowore was never part of it. He said, I said from day one, I appreciate you guys for inviting me, but I cannot be part of it. And I pulled out after nothing else. I never went back there.
But Mr. Sowore, there were multiple sightings of you in company of the people.
Not multiple. There was only one sighting of me at Pact.
There was a time you guys went to visit Wole Soyinka.
That was I was the one who arranged that meeting between myself and Fela to see Soyinka, because Soyinka is my friend. No, not at all.
Okay, moving from Pact to your exclusion from the debate.
Exactly. This is why you say it's controversial.
No, I mean, it's...
And I'm glad we're breaking it down. Some of the misconception you have.
Yes, indeed. I was speaking with him yesterday, and he said 1 hour might not be enough.
That's true.
Yes, it might not be enough.
Yeah.
Now, you have been very vocal about your disapproval, about your exclusion.
Yes.
For very obvious reasons. Now, we've heard a lot.
Yes.
Some said it's because of popularity, others said it's because of character. But I'm reading from your side, Sarah Reporters, because I'd like to quote, lack of funds by the NEDG. Now, this is what I'm quoting directly. 1 hour airtime is 12 million, 2 hours is 16 million, 2.5 hours is almost 20 million. They gave us 20 million dash, and we accepted it. We wanted to make it 4 hours, but they did not accept. Of all the reasons they've given for your exclusion, did you find anyone reasonable, and how has it affected you, basically?
It hasn't affected me in any way. As a matter of fact, I think the exclusion made people understand that, you know, this is probably the most vibrant candidate, and people are afraid and fearful of a participation between myself and the other people chosen. How would you know? You look at the vice presidential debate. It's exactly the reason why they chose those candidates. It's why I was excluded. You saw it it was able to achieve the results that the two major political parties were trying to present to the public, that these other younger candidates are not prepared. And you saw that with the vice presidential candidates of the three other parties that were chosen, handpicked by NEDG. Woeful performance. You know, it boils down to what Obi said and what Professor Shibaju said and didn't say. Whereas if we had participated in that vice presidential candidates debate, it would have been a different story, because a vice presidential candidate is on fire. He would have set the place on fire. He would have challenged both major political parties and their candidates, vice presidential candidates there, in such a way that that alternative that we're trying to present to the Nigerian people, the alternative that we say we are, would have been made clear from that, and then the expectation would have been the final, the final battle, which would have been the presidential debate. And now, as of yesterday, we have gone to sue the NEDG.
Yes,
what the NEDG is doing,
yes,
they have shifted position 3 different times.
Yes.
First, they claimed it was the character was part of the issue. When they were pushed further, they said it was funding, right? The other day when we saw them, they said, well, it was popularity. And we asked them to provide to us how a Feladro Toye or Obi Ezekwesili, who entered the presidential race less than a month ago, or Kingsley Moghalu is more popular than Sowore. Nobody has been able to provide the evidence. In fact, they had an online poll, and we came third. The moment the controversy started, they went and pulled down the online poll. This is, you can find out for yourself.
Okay, Mr. Sowore.
So it's a fraud that we are going to challenge in court, but we will also continue to mount political pressure.
It is a fraud, allegedly. Now,
yes,
let me read the official report about the lawsuit.
Yes.
Presidential candidate of the AAC, Mr. Sowore, on Wednesday filed a suit against the Nigeria Election Debate Group.
Yes.
Sowore sued the NEDG over the exclusion of his party's vice presidential candidate, Mr. Rabiu. Now, the suit was filed by the National Legal Advisor. Moving on, I'm trying to find other respondents in the suit. BON, CEO of Channels TV. Now, this is the part I'm looking for. The party is praying the court to declare that the deployment of the state media apparatus by the organizers of the debate to the advantages of the 5 selected parties who participated and the exclusion contravenes Section 102 of the Electoral Act of 2010.
Yes.
Now, let's force ourselves to go to that. Section 102 states, state apparatus, including the media, shall not be employed to the advantage or disadvantage of any political party or candidate at any election.
Yes.
Section 3.
Yes.
Media time shall be allocated equally among the political parties or candidates at similar hours of the day.
That's right.
Let's take 3. We have 91 political parties registered by INEC.
Yes.
If we were to give airtime, and I'm not saying anybody should be excluded, to 91 candidates, Mr. Sowore, how long would that take?
Listen, there are 91 political parties. Only 70-something of them are presenting presidential candidates.
Yes.
That means you only have 70-something to deal with. Out of that 70-something, 45 of them have already collapsed their sovereignty into PDP. So you have less to deal with.
Okay.
Use your judgment. That's true. Nobody can cover everybody, but when people come to you for coverage, you don't have a right to deny them coverage. That's what the law says.
But the NEDG says funding.
No, they don't have funding problems because they are using state media that is already funded by public taxpayers. I mean, so how do you deny a presidential candidate? And this, I didn't make these laws. These are laws of the land. So somebody cannot contravene them by claiming ignorance of the law, by claiming that they don't have money. It's just like somebody walking into a store, stealing, and then walking out, and then when they catch you, you say it's because you are poor, right? You can't do that. So that is exactly what we are challenging, is that the laws are very clear. And we look at the criteria they've chosen, decided that you contravene the law, and that's why we're in court. And they haven't been able to defend any of this. One is that the public needs to know what criteria did you use in choosing the people you chose. They said it was, online polling, that they did research, they did surveys, and we're asking for the surveys, make it public. Nobody has been able to see, even though they promised the DG himself promised Mr. Isiri that
Yeah,
he'll make them public.
Yeah.
We sent somebody there. He started another story that which shows that they had personal issues with me.
Let me quote them directly.
Yeah.
Mr. Eddie Emesiri, Executive Secretary, said the parties for the debate were picked through an independently administered multi-stage process.
Yes.
Keyword independent.
Where is it? Where's the independence? We have asked them for it. Let them make it public. Till today, this controversy has been on for almost maybe 2 weeks, and we haven't been able to see this multi-level, multi-stage independent process. We have to be transparent about the way we conduct this kind of businesses, because NEDG is an NGO. I mean, it's registered as an NGO, so they need to understand that there's public trust involved. And if they cannot credibly and transparently show us how these multi-stage level decisions were taken, we are right to say that it was fraudulent.
Okay, well, let's see how that goes. I've been having conversations with Mr. Omoyele Sowore, the presidential candidate of African Action Congress. All right, here is still 92.3 Nigeria Info. Shortly, we'll be talking about his running mate and the policies he intends to implement if he becomes the president. Now let's talk about your running mate, Mr. Sowore. How would you define your relationship with Rabiu Rufai?
Very great. He's a public health professional. He's also a university teacher.
Okay.
So he's very well rounded, and we did a lot of work in looking for and finding a running mate, and when we eventually found him, we were pretty satisfied.
Yes, that's the next question. Are you satisfied with Mr. Rabiu being your running mate?
Yes, very
Well, there are a couple of people who feel that you would have a better running mate, Duncan Mighty. He made a video yesterday. He gave reasons why he should be chosen as your running mate. The singer and record producer expressed interest in being the running mate to Sowore, adding that Rabiu Ahmed Rufai, who currently occupies the position, is not doing enough on the campaign front. Do you know about this, first of all?
I found out about it, and I found it very interesting. I found Duncan Mighty a few years ago on Facebook when he released a track called Obayanuju.
Okay.
And I was fascinated by this guy. I kept asking, who is this guy? And I went on iTunes and bought the entire album.
Oh, nice.
And in all honesty, there are a few people who have released an entire album that, was quite captivating. And I think one of it was when I arrived in the US some 19 years ago, Miseducation of Laurie Hill. One of it, and recently I would say Simi and Adekunle Gold. Duncan Mighty, beat all of them hands down in my estimation. So when I heard about this, I was like, okay, now I have to reach out to him, and I actually did reach out to him.
Oh, you did?
Yes. There's a process for selecting a vice presidential candidate. So you have to join the party first and foremost, and you would have to be at the convention of the party. So I think it's closed the nomination for VP. But regardless,
how did Mr. Duncan Mighty take this news?
No, we have not had that conversation.
Oh, you haven't yet?
But I want to meet with Duncan Mighty. I thought it would be in Port Harcourt today, but you reached out to me that he had a show in Lagos yesterday.
Okay.
So, but we're communicating. So I've asked him I've been saying that I want him to be my VP for one day.
Okay.
So that would have been today.
Well, even if he's not listening, he has a lot of people in Port Harcourt.
I love his music.
Okay.
And I hope that I'll meet him one day.
Mr. Sowore, that is not helping. There's no good way to break bad news.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
So basically,
we're working on
Duncan is going to receive some bad news very soon.
No. We're working on it.
If you're Duncan's friend, and I mean this is Port Harcourt, tell him before Sowore does, because we don't know how it will hit him.
No. I'm going to meet with Duncan. We will have a conversation. I'll definitely love for him to play a role in the campaign. Honestly.
Okay, that's wonderful.
I'm always looking for artists with conscience.
All right, 15 minutes to the top of the hour. Very shortly, you will call in or send your messages via WhatsApp if you have any questions for Mr. Sowore. But let's get to the presidential race. Let's hear your manifesto, sir.
Yes, our manifesto is couched in what we call Spicer Heat. And it's that our first priority is security, followed by electricity, power. It's a big deal to us. In fact, it should have been number one, but without, first of all, securing the country, you can't even build power infrastructure in the country. It's followed by infrastructure, road, rail, housing, and then followed by anti-corruption and an all-inclusive economic system, political economy that will change completely. And we want to do restructuring as well, followed by health, education, agriculture, and tourism. So that's what is called Spicer Heats. Yes.
Very specific sectors.
Yes, very, very specific, and we've broken it down in our policy document, how much we're going to spend and what we'll do for each situation. And some of them have, people have asked us, regardless, to detail how, for example, we want to do power, and we said we want to move from 3,000 megawatts to 24,000 megawatts, so that every city, town, and village in this country can have access to electricity.
Mr. Sowore, these things are easier said than done.
It's not. It's easier said than done. Until that's why you have to listen. You probably have been listening too much to the old people.
We've listened to everybody. This is the media.
Well,
give everybody a chance.
You're hearing me for the first time, at least on your show, all right? And nobody, for example, has ever talked about solar energy.
Yeah.
And it's been a major source of electricity for countries in Africa as well, including places like Morocco. Morocco just recently generated, Egypt in particular generated 17,000, they built 70,000 megawatts of electricity in 2.5 years. And solar was a major part of it. That's going to be part of our focus, in addition to gas, coal, in limited quantity, because coal is becoming a difficult product to generate electricity with, because it's difficult to make it clean. But you think about it, we're in the Niger Delta region today. You drive down from here, you go to Ogoniland, there are over 9 billion cubic feet of gas in Ogoniland. Most people don't know. And this is untapped gas that can even drive the future of electricity, not only in Nigeria, but to the West Africa sub-region or sub-Sahara region. What I'm saying here is that most people don't understand that beyond just flicking on and off lights, without power you can't have industrial development, you can't have an industrialized future. And that is why Nigeria is where it is today. People address issues, they do them haphazardly. You don't have people who are clairvoyant enough, people who are knowledgeable enough, people who are capable to understand that these things can work. See, I understand the cynicism that we have dealt with people who don't know how to get things done for so long that you can't even believe anybody who says it can be done. I went to Ibadan in Oyo State and said the Lagos-Ibadan expressway can be completed. The rest of it, which is less than 60 kilometers, can be completed in a month and a half. They said it's not possible. The reason is that somebody said, I have been around for 20 years and this road has not been completed. How can you come and do it? But when I broke it down to them that you can actually do over 4 to 8 kilometers day and night, they said, is that possible? Of course it's possible, but you cannot do that with the way we do road construction here. We intend to build 17 million housing units. The reason why these things are important is because not only do you build, anytime you build, it creates employment, job, and when people get jobs, they invest in their own local economy, the economy will be booming. If there's electricity, it will help. If there's housing, it helps. In China, and I'm not talking about the China that Peter Obi was talking about during the debates. In China, they have what they call ghost apartments. Apartments that they build that nobody's living in because they realize that they have need for housing. But it was done first and foremost to create jobs for their own people. And it's the people who build the ghost apartment that eventually is sent out by China to go to everywhere in the world to go and build houses for them as well, because they do the training at home. Imagine if Nigeria got its rightful place on the continent of Africa. We'll be the ones doing it. Do you know that if you go to South Africa today, you want to build an apartment, the people they point to, Zimbabweans. If you want to build an apartment in Nigeria and you want to do a good job, do you know who they will ask you to go and get? People from Benin Republic. Because they don't even trust our own carpenters here. They don't trust our own, plumbers here. Okay. So we have to understand this, but it needs leadership. It needs a different kind of mindset and a progressive one at that. And that's what Sowore is about.
Okay, so we have just 10 minutes to top of the hour, 10 minutes for you to ask your questions. Mr. Sowore will still respond to his views on the minimum wage, but I'd like to hear your voice. 081-813-26456. 080-959-75764, 081-813-26597, and 081-813-26575. If you have any questions for the presidential candidate of the AAC, this will be the time to ask it. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay, we lost that call. Please call back if you can. Remember to turn off your radio as you call us. Well, we seem to have Tony calling from Port Harcourt. Let's hear what Tony has to say.
Sorry?
Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right.
I have a question for your guest.
By all means.
Okay. I'd like to know, Mr. Sowore, the presidential candidate of a particular party.
That's right.
But I would also like to say that winning elections is not something that easy. What structure does a party have around the country? Because as far as I know, Obia local government where I live, they don't even have a ward, they don't have an office.
Okay.
That is the first one. Then the second one, why is it difficult for progressives?
Okay, Tony, apologies, but we're able to take just one call because we have other people behind you. So he'll answer your first question. Thank you very much. Emeka is calling. Good morning, Emeka.
Good morning to you.
Morning, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, my brother. What's up?
I'm wonderful. Ask your question in 60 seconds.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with you and the information that you have. And I was also wondering why you are excluded from the debate in your party. It's quite absurd, and that goes to show that people in this country want to close it all down. That's what it means.
Okay. All right, thank you, Emeka. Let's allow him react to the first call.
The first call was saying that we don't have to. No, that's not true. Our president, our governorship candidate, our Goba candidate is here in the studio, and he knows that we have representative in every local government in Rivers State. Yeah. We've done over 100 town hall meetings before we even became a political party.
Over 100?
Yes. Yeah, we've been to over 32 states.
That's a bold claim.
It is. You know, it's verifiable claim as well because almost all of them were live streamed. We've been to over 7 countries, I think, since we started as well, including South Africa. I went to Australia to talk to Nigerians in the diaspora, UK. I went to Scotland. I was in the US. I went to Ghana. And so we've done several events across the country, including going to the hometown of President Buhari a few weeks ago. So, and these are not just claims that we're making. We live streamed most of it, so you can Google and find that on the internet. So we have representatives everywhere. What I want to address with regards to structure is for people to understand the difference between restructures and the transactional political structures that the big parties have, which I call retail outlets for bribing electorates. Those ones are not structures, you know, but we have real organic structures everywhere. Before we came here, we were in Uyo, and we are now in Port Harcourt today, or I mean tomorrow we're going to be in Warri, next tomorrow we'll be in Asaba. We've done all the geopolitical zones in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Do you have Nigeria covered?
Yes, we've done that when we were still a movement. We covered all the geopolitical zones. You can ask me of any major cities in Nigeria that I have not been to. I'll tell you I've been there. We've been in places like Binik-Hebi, Agungu. Okay. We were in Gusau in Zamfara State, Kwara Namoda, Sokoto, and Kano. We've been in Kaduna. We've been everywhere.
All right, let's take more calls. Oh, we lost that. Please call back if you can. We have a couple of minutes. Call and ask Mr. Sowore any questions you have. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello? Okay, please call back when you can. Hello, good morning. Apologies for that. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is I'm calling from Elena.
All right, talk to us.
All right, I just want to encourage the man to do. It has always been my wish and my prayer that we should have people outside the two major political parties, public secular powers for this CPC, AP. And for us to have gotten one person and some other ones who have been thrown out, my prayer for them is that may God continue to sustain them. Because we are tired of this two political parties. We cannot continue in this country. Yes. So I'm praying for them that they should not be discouraged. Should go ahead and do what they do.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. So let's quickly take what we have on WhatsApp. Good morning, Mr. Sowore. What structures do you intend to put in place for youth empowerment?
Well, when it comes to youth empowerment, education and job creation is what is most important to us. And in the educational sector, we have said, and I know we don't have time, that even for the university students, people who are going to school, we get a, study allowances. In addition to ensuring that we fund education adequately, people who are going to become youth, children, are also part of that major focus. For jobs, we are planning about 5 million jobs, and we've broken them down to in providing the power sector. Because of the investment we're doing, there are about 2 million, trying to empower over 1,000 agricultural entrepreneurs in every local government across the country. The infrastructural sector, because we want to double the road infrastructure in particular. We have 20,000 kilometers of road right now in Nigeria federal. We want to double that to 40,000 kilometers, so that every federal highway in Nigeria is dualized. And that would also improve the economy in no small measure, provide jobs to people. We want to hire 200,000 teachers. We want to hire 160,000 healthcare professionals in the country and track the ones that have left to come back. There will be plenty of jobs in the country, but most importantly, we want to make sure that we pay people living wage.
Living wage?
Yes, which is different from minimum wage. Minimum wage is the one that is legally approved, that don't support your life. The one we want to do is the one that will be legally approved and can sustain you as a worker. That's 100,000.
Is this viable?
It's viable. It's 100,000 naira per worker. It's viable because we have figured out how to pay it. It's only going to cost Nigeria $1.5 billion every year to pay workers in this country a living wage.
Have you heard the president talk about the state of the economy?
The president, I don't like to talk about the president. The president is not in charge. They don't know what they're doing. We're talking about the future. You're talking about the past.
Okay, Mr. Sowore, we have 3 minutes. I'm supposed to ask health, security, education, and the economy. That was the focus. I wanted to know what practical steps you would take, but I don't think we have enough time for that. Now, let me ask the question everyone is thinking. What do you think your chances are against the heavyweights of the bigger parties?
It's up to Nigerians to decide if they want to continue with the heavyweights and keep receiving heavy punishment, of poverty, of diseases, of mismanagement of their lives, of lack of education, health, of lack of roads, or you want to change the direction and cause of your political fortunes by voting for somebody who has pedigree and integrity, who has capacity, who has exposure, and most importantly, education.
And what if we find that person, but the person is not a candidate for the AAC?
If you find a person, please make that choice. Okay. But don't let it be any of these old cargoes who have nothing to offer Nigerians. And that's why I presented myself. But I have the conviction and the belief, and that has been proven over time now, that I'm the best of all the candidates. That's the reason why I'm the only one campaigning. The others can't, because they don't have any records to campaign on. Okay. And maybe the other ones who could have been campaigning who are younger are probably too afraid to do so, because they've already defeated themselves by claiming that these big parties cannot be defeated. I believe we can defeat them, and we can create a brand new country for ourselves starting from next year. We should not be consigned to the condition that we're in, this condition of depression and hopelessness in this country. Another Nigeria, a brand new Nigeria is possible, and I am preaching it, and I'll breathe life into it as soon as I become the president of Nigeria next year.
Okay, quite the confidence there. Words according to Mr. Sowore. Thank you very much for making the time.
Thanks for bringing me.
As I said, 1 hour would not be enough, and I'm hoping we can have you here some other time.
Yes, please do bring me back so that you can hear the truth.
Okay. All right, so it's been an engaging conversation with Mr. Sowore. It's 11 o'clock and it's time for Africa Now. The dialogue continues. Don't go anywhere. This is 92.3 Nigeria Info.